Hey, it's Risa. Today I'm going to be making blackberry jelly. I'm going to grab my apron and we'll get started. While I get my apron, I'm going to show you the video of the process of getting the juice. Okay, I'm simmering my blackberries and I'm going to let them simmer for several minutes until the color of the juice gets about where I want. I want it a little bit darker than that. I think I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. It's been simmering about 10 minutes. You can see the juice has gotten a little darker. That's about where I like it. So the first thing you want to do after getting your berries is wash them really good. And then you want to put them in your pot that you're going to boil them in and cover them with water. Now I put enough water in mine to cover the berries about 1 inch above the berries. And then you turn them on and you boil them. Now I boil mine, it probably takes about 10 minutes. It depends on how strong of a jelly you want. If you don't want a jelly quite as strong, you may not boil yours as long and the color will be a little lighter. I found that about 10 minutes works for what I like. So anyway, after you boil your berries, you saw in the process, I strained them several times. Now the first time I strained them, I just poured them through a colander, and that's going to catch any big piece of berry that may have come loose. The second time I poured it through a fine strainer, and that's going to catch even smaller pieces. Then I poured it through a cloth, kind of like this right here, like a flour sack cloth. That's going to catch any kind of pulp that may be in the berry juice. And you'll find that when you're pouring it through the cloth the first time, you may have to move the cloth to a clean spot, because the pulp will actually clog up the cloth and then the juice won't flow through. So you may have to move the cloth to a clean spot several times before you get all the juice through there. And then the last time, I poured it through a cloth again into my gallon jar, and you noticed that time the juice poured right through. There was no pulp hindering it. So we had the juice really pure at that point, and that's what this is here. So now I'm going to go ahead and start the process of making the jelly. Now the recipe I use is it takes 3 3/4 cup of juice and then 4 1/2 cups of sugar. So I'm going to move the camera over to the stove and we'll get started. Okay, I have my juice in the pot. Now what you want to do is get a pack of Sure Gel, and you put 1 pack of Sure Gel in the juice while it's cold. That's going to make your jelly set. Then you want to turn it on, and you're going to bring this to a rapid boil. Then we'll add our sugar, and then we'll bring it to another bowl, and then we'll let it boil for 1 minute, and then it'll be ready to pour up. Okay, so the juice is now coming to a boil, and it's a steady boil. Even when I stir it, it's still boiling. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my sugar, and then after I add my sugar, like I said, we're gonna bring it back to a bowl and boil for 1 minute. Now it's gonna boil all the way up to the top of the pot, probably. And you may think it's gonna boil over, but it shouldn't. Make sure you have a big enough pot to do this in. If not, you risk making a mess, or worse, hurting yourself, by getting it on you. So make sure you have a big enough pot to cook it in. So at this point, you want to stir it constantly so it'll get the sugar mixed throughout the juice and dissolve good. I will say here next to the juice, I have a pot with my lids in it, my jar lids, and you want to simmer your lids in boiling water for at least 5 minutes before using them, and just let them sit in the hot water. That prepares them for sealing. And so they're here next to the juice. This is one of my favorite things to make. The color of the juice is so pretty. All right, it's at a rapid boil even when I'm stirring it, so I'm gonna add 1 minute to my timer. And isn't that pretty? You want to keep stirring it so it won't boil over. And if you need to turn it down just a tad, you know, if you're worried about it, that's perfectly fine. No need in taking a chance. Alrighty. Alright, I'm gonna move it back over there to my jars. Okay, so I'm about to pour this up. I'm going to give it one more stir. And pour it up in my jars. Now you can use a funnel or a ladle if you like. I just pour it from the pot. Now you will see some foam that has gathered up on the top of mine. It normally does not do that much. That's because I had to let it sit there for just a second while I moved the camera. So I am going to scrape some of this off real quick before I put the tops on it. All right, that should be good. Wipe the rim, my jars. If you have jelly on the rim, it could keep the lid from sealing good. They make little magnet things to get lids out of hot water with, and I couldn't find mine. Alright, just want to press that down and put your rings on. And then put them on tight. And what's going to happen is as the jelly cools, the lid will seal, and then they'll be good to go. Okay, so I've got about 8 or 10 more makings to do, so I'm gonna get started with that. But I did want to show you the process of making jelly, and there's nothing hard about it. Don't let it intimidate you. Just give it a try and enjoy the process, and then enjoy the fruits of your labor. It really is rewarding having things on hand that you make yourself, and so I just encourage you to give that a try. And if you enjoyed my videos, if you will, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. God bless.